Hi everyone, this is our first mini lecture for our general music 5th grade class for Module 1, which is Back to Basics, and that is because you should already have some prior knowledge of music from your previous music classes. So this is the Back to Basics for the things you're going to need for our ultimate goal in this class, which is learning to play the recorder this year. So this is Module 1, Back to Basics. I want to start with the learning targets for the overall module, just so you know what to look for and what to be focusing on. The first one is we'll be able to identify the 4/4 time signature and explain how it's used. We'll be able to identify and rhythmically count the half note, quarter note, and eighth note. And we'll be able to apply our knowledge of counting rhythms to performing and composing 4-measure phrases. If you noticed, all the words that were in green are the module vocabulary that we'll be using for the class. The first is time signature. We'll go into it more in depth in the mini lecture, but a time signature is the symbol located at the beginning of the music staff which tells the musicians how many beats are in each measure. A half note is a music note representing 2 beats of sound. A quarter note is a music note representing 1 beat of sound. And eighth notes are music notes each representing a half of a beat of sound. And finally, composing means to write an original piece of music. So here we go with the mini lecture for today. This here is a time signature, as we previously said. If you remember from your prior classes, this is the music staff that music is written on. Here you see our treble clef, which tells us how to read the music. This would be for violins, flutes, clarinets, trumpets, instruments like that. But today we're going to be focusing here on the 4/4 time signature. It's always located at the beginning, right next to our clef and on the music staff. The top 4 tells the musician how many beats are in each bar or measure. And the bottom 4 tells us which note value gets 1 beat. So the 4 represents the quarter note, telling us that each quarter note is going to represent 1 beat. And that tells us something very important because all of our other notes are going to be based off of the fact that the quarter note is 1 beat. So some math is going to be involved in today's lesson. Moving on, first we need to understand what a bar or a measure is. So just like a ruler, the music staff is divided into what we call measures by the bar line, and you can see the bar line right here. So just like a ruler that are evenly spaced across with inches, a measure evenly spaces out our music staff. And in the 4/4 time signature, the top 4 telling us that there are 4 beats in each measure. Each one of these measures would have 4 measured out beats of either sound or silence. So here's our quarter note. If you remember, our quarter note is what gets 1 beat in 4/4 time. It has a black colored in circle and a stem that comes up. Here's our music staff with our 4/4 time signature at the beginning and our bar line at the end, showing us that this is 1 single measure, and we can see all our quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, and 4, making the measure full with 4 beats. Now if we were going to play this, we would either count them as 1, 2, 3, 4, all evenly spaced as I just said them, or we use the syllable ta. So to play this, I would say ta, 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 all even. Whoops. So here, just like our quarter note, we have a quarter rest. A quarter rest was not one of the vocabulary words we used, but it's going to be something that you see in your recorder music. A quarter rest is also 1 beat, but it's of silence rather than sound. So here's our music staff. 1 measure is shown. We have 2 quarter notes and 2 quarter rests. To play this measure, all in even time, we would have 1, rest, 2, rest. So to hear that on ta, you would have ta, ta, and move on. Up next are our eighth notes. So eighth notes were said to be each 1/2 of a beat of sound. Now don't be confused. Just because these are connected as one unit does not make them 1/8 note. A single eighth note would be by itself. In this case, this is how we most commonly see eighth notes in 4/4 time, and they're paired together. The way that we say eighth notes is TT, and that's the rhythm that we'll use. So on the music staff here, you can see the eighth notes in groups of 4. In the 4/4 time signature, you'll often see eighth notes paired in 2s or paired in 4s, and that's just to make measuring them out to play easier. You also see this plus sign that equals and. So if we were counting our rhythm in numbers, we would use the and to help us out. Since quarter notes are 1 beat, 2 eighth notes can fit inside each quarter note. This is some of the math that I was referring to before. So eighth notes are exactly twice as fast as quarter notes. So where quarter notes would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, all even, eighth notes are counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and all even like that. I also gave you the syllable word TT to use for counting if that makes it easier for you. And you would count this out T, 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 just like that. The final kind of note we're going to be looking at for today's mini lecture is the half note. The half note looks extremely similar to the quarter note, except it's not colored in the middle. That's the only difference. The half note is 2 full beats of sound, so it's actually held out. Here you can see the 2 half notes that fit in the measure. Because each measure can only hold 4 beats, each one represents 2. So you would hold it out for 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, if you wanted a syllable for this word, you could use ta, but you would just hold the A out, making it nice and even. Ta, ta, all held out. The final part of the lecture I'm going to show you is how to use these notes all in a single measure. So we have our time signature here. This is one measure. So first you want to make sure that there are 4 beats. If you remember, the half note is 2. The eighth notes are each 1/2, so a half and a half is a whole, making this one beat together. And the quarter note is 1 for 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4 would be how we count this. If you wanted to hear it on ta, if the numbers are just confusing for you, you can say ta, ti, ti, ta. And that's a great way to figure out how a rhythm is going to sound before you play it on your recorder or clap it out or however you're going to play it. For your composition projects, when we get to that point, it's important to know how many beats are in each one of these notes so that you can make sure each of your measures has 4 beats. Each measure does not need to have 4 beats of sound. We could have substituted a quarter rest here at the end and it would still be 4 beats. So one more time, let's look at this one and practice saying it. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4, all nice and even. And again on ta, it's ta, ti, ti, ta. So that is the end of our mini lecture. Have a great work week, and I look forward to seeing your assignments.